With every Zenless exclusive S-rank character looking like a must summon, new A-rank characters are shaping up to be also just as amazing. Now if I told you there's a character that can buff anomaly characters, provides a shield for allies, deals a decent amount of days, and inflicts good DPS, you would probably think it's an S-rank character. Nope, it's Seth, which is an A-rank character featured on Jane's banner that is dropping today. Of course, I understand if some players may have been a bit distracted by Jane on the banner, but you should definitely look forward to picking up Seth as well as Jane, given the ton of value he holds, which will benefit your account massively. However, even if you aren't summoning for Jane, it's only a matter of time till you pick up Seth, either through the standard banner or fillers, since he is an A-rank character. So for those of you that are interested in what exactly is our first new A-rank character capable of, I'll be breaking down his kit, going through his best team synergies, viable builds, and the overall value he would have on your account. Just before we jump into it, as always, would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more ZenlessZoneZero content and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Now with Seth, he will be an electric character and is our second defender type character in the game. Ben, being our first, is a decent defender himself, but Seth is looking to take it up a notch and will steer the defender archetype towards possibly being the meta. As for Seth's basic attacks, they are pretty standard and deal both physical and electric damage. But it gets much more interesting when it comes to the enhanced lightning strike basic attack. Similarly to Jane and Changli, Seth will have a meter that he will be able to charge up with Resolve. When 75% of the meter has been filled with Resolve, you hold the basic attack button down to unleash a flurry of electric attacks, which deals a good amount of damage, anomaly build-up, and days. Also, a unique aspect of this attack will be that a quick assist will be triggered for the character before Seth. Usually the quick assist is triggered from the character in front, so with certain teams you can always aim to quick assist your main damage dealer back onto the field, which is pretty nice. In regards to accumulating Resolve, there are a couple ways, such as defensive assists, which will provide 25% Resolve, and the EX skill, chain attacks, and the ultimate will provide 75% Resolve. So you would be able to unleash the lightning strike attack straight away following most of Seth's abilities, which I'll explain why is extremely valuable shortly. With Seth's standard skill, it doesn't provide any resolve, so it's best to ensure you always inflict the EX skill, which is also capable of dealing a good chunk of damage and days on enemies. As for the ultimate, it deals a flurry of electric attacks that deal great burst damage and, as mentioned, will accumulate 75% resolve, grant Seth 3 assist points, and inflicts a ton of days. So even just with Seth's abilities being multifunctional makes him quite a solid character overall. Now as for the core passives, Seth's very lengthy first core passive essentially boils down to the ability of providing himself with a shield and his allies with a shield. Seth provides himself with a shield whenever the EX skill is activated, which will scale off Seth's attack and will last for 25 seconds. As for providing a shield to his allies, whenever a quick assist is triggered or a chain attack which leads to another member entering the field, they will obtain the same shield that will scale off Seth's attack and will also last for 25 seconds. Additionally, when the shield is active on a character, they will obtain an increase to anomaly proficiency. So this would be perfect when paired with anomaly DPS characters, since they would be dealing even more damage from anomalies. However, even though anomaly DPS characters would benefit the most from the boost in anomaly proficiency, every other DPS would still benefit when they deal damage from anomalies being triggered. So the first core passive is insanely valuable as it provides protection for allies and allows them to deal even more damage through anomalies. Now as for the second core passive, going back to why the ability to deal enhanced lightning strike attacks quite often is so valuable, when there is another character on the team that shares the same attribute or faction as Seth, when Seth deals his chain attack or finishing strike from the enhanced lightning strike attack, he will reduce the enemy's anomaly build-up resistance to all attributes by 20% for 20 seconds. So not only will the first core passive be amazing for anomaly DPS characters, but so will the second core passive, as it will allow them to build up anomalies much quicker, and since the debuff duration is 20 seconds, you could consider this to have near enough 100% uptime, since there's multiple ways of charging enough resolve to deal the enhanced lightning strike attack. So Seth is quite possibly the best support character for anomaly DPS characters right now, with having 2 insane core passives that majorly buff them and even keep them protected. So when it comes to his team synergies, there will be a few obvious ones when taking these core passives into consideration. However, just before that, since Seth is a 4-star character, his Mindscapes will definitely be worth taking a look at, since you are likely going to pick up a few if you are summoning for Jiyan. Kicking it off with M1 being a great boost overall, since the shield provided from the core passive will become even stronger and the anomaly proficiency buff will last for an additional 10 seconds after the shield has been removed. So the total duration of the anomaly proficiency buff would be extended to 35 seconds, which is plenty of time to reapply the shield again. As for M2, Seth immediately generates 75% resolve upon entering battle, so the enhanced lightning strike attack becomes available to use straight away. Also, the anomaly build-up rate for the attack itself will be buffed by 35%. So the attack already building up a good amount of electric anomaly will build up even more, which is going to be extremely valuable when paired alongside anomaly DPS characters, since it will make triggering disorder even easier. M3 and M5 will just provide free upgrades for Seth's skills, so as for M4, the defensive assist will deal 25% more days, which makes Seth even better as a dazer, and as for the last Mindscape, the enhanced lightning strike attack will deal additional damage equal to 500% of Seth's attack, along with the attack being guaranteed to crit and the crit damage being increased by 60% for this attack. So the attack you would be able to deal quite often due to Seth's abilities providing enough resolve, and with the M2 providing 75% resolve from the very beginning, becomes an absolute nuke of an attack. So overall, Seth's Mindscapes are pretty valuable, as acquiring them will enhance his supportive capabilities, dazing capabilities, and damage dealing capabilities, which makes him an even more powerful jack of all trades character. So with that, Jiyan's banner will definitely be a valuable banner overall, having Jiyan there of course, and the ability to pick up multiple copies of Seth. Now as for Seth's team synergies, given his core passives, it will be pretty obvious that you'll want to use him with anomaly DPS characters the most. More specifically, Seth alongside Jiyan and Grace is looking to be his best team, since Seth would be buffing both Jiyan's and Grace's anomaly proficiency with the first core passive and will allow them to build up anomalies even quicker with the second core passive. Jiyan, being the physical anomaly DPS, will be able to trigger assault comfortably by herself, and with both Grace and Seth being electric characters, they would be able to trigger shock insanely quick, which will allow for disorder to be triggered very often. Also, Seth, as I have mentioned, is able to deal a good amount of daze for a non-stun character, which will lead to a lot of chain attacks, allowing Jiyan to enter the passion state frequently. Lastly, with Grace's core passive being activated, since Seth is an electric character, enemies will receive up to 36% additional shock damage. So this team synergizes extremely well overall, and I do believe will be Seth's best team. However, there are some alternative teams you can run, such as Jiyan with Seth and Piper, which would also be a solid team, as Piper will just be a replacement for Grace as the second anomaly DPS for the team, and since Piper is a physical attributes character, Jiyan's core passive allowing assault to crit will allow for this anomaly duo to synergize quite nicely together. So with Seth buffing their anomaly damage and build-up rate along with the long list of other stuff he is capable of, makes this a great team composition. Moving away from duo anomaly DPS teams, the mono electric team would be another great team comp, as Seth is pretty well rounded, meaning he will be able to deal good damage along with providing support and dazing enemies. Now there are multiple variations to the mono electric team, as you could have Seth with either Grace or Anton as the main DPS, alongside either Changli or Anby being the stun characters, or Rina as an additional support. Also, since they're all electric characters, their core passives would be activated, which would allow them all to synergize very well together. Aside from Changli, that would need an attacker on the team, so that would mean Anton would have to be the main DPS. Either way, any combination of the mono electric team would be viable, so if you don't want to play Seth on an anomaly team, the mono electric team would definitely be a strong alternative comp. Now lastly, in terms of Seth's team flexibility in general, as I mentioned earlier, Seth's core passives will specialize in buffing anomaly DPS characters. But since every character deals anomaly damage and builds up anomalies, they would still benefit from Seth's core passives, which still make him a valuable character outside of anomaly DPS teams. Now taking a look at viable W engines for Seth, The A-rank W engine featured on Jane's W engine banner is pretty much his signature W engine and will be the best option for him. Also, since there isn't any S-rank W engines for defender characters until Caesar drops. So as for the Peacekeeper W engine, it has an attack main stat, along with obtaining an increase in energy regen when the equipper is shielded and a 36% increase in a normally build-up rate with EX special attacks. Considering the shields provided to allies and to Seth himself scale of attack, having an attack main stat would be somewhat vital. Also, since Seth is quite the damage dealer, he will be able to definitely utilize the boost in attack from the main stat. The effects from the passive are pretty solid as well, since they will allow him to fit even better into normally DPS teams and for his EX special attack to be used more often. So given this is an A-rank W engine, it would be pretty easy to pick up, either through dropping a couple multis on the banner or even later on when it joins the standard selection. As for alternatives, the only other W engine with an attack main stat would be the Battle Pass W engine, Spring Embrace, which also reduces damage taken and increases the energy generation rate for the equipper and for allies when switched onto the field. The energy generation buff would be nice along with the attack main stat, but since this is more of a defensive type W engine, which funny enough Seth isn't even though he is a defender type character, means it just isn't as great as the signature W engine. So it would just be best to pick up Seth's signature W engine if you are fully committed in using him on your team. Lastly, as for the disk drive sets, since Seth is pretty versatile, there are a few combinations of disk drive builds you can run. If you are running Seth on a WuWa normally DPS team, either the Freedom Blues 4-piece set would be good in allowing him to build up Electric Anomaly, which contributes in triggering the Sorter quicker, or the Shockstar Disco set as it allows Seth to be more of a stunner for the team. Additionally, the Swing Jazz set would be viable since the 2-piece allows Seth to pull off the EX skill much more often, which results in accumulating 75% resolve for the meter just as often. And the 4-piece provides a damage boost of 15% to the team when launching chain attacks or the ultimate. As for the 2-piece sets, you probably want to run either of the sets I just mentioned, but if you want a bit more DPS from Seth, the Thunder Metal set would help in achieving just that, as you'll obtain a 10% increase in electric damage. Also, the Hormone Punk 2-piece would allow Seth to deal even more damage, along with strengthening his shields that scale off his attack. So there are a few combinations for disk drive builds you can go with, which does make it quite easy to build up Seth. Now as for the disk drive main stats. With the 4th disk drive, depending on how you intend to play Seth, you'll want either attack percent, anomaly proficiency, or crit damage. The 5th disk drive would prefer electric damage bonus, but attack percent is also viable, and for the last disk drive, energy regen would be priority for Seth's EX special attacks to be activated more often. But alternatives would either be attack percent or anomaly mastery. With substats, attack percent and crit damage would be priority. Crit rate is good, but if you have M6 that guarantees the lightning strike attack to crit, it wouldn't be as valuable. And as for the last stat, either anomaly proficiency, flat attack, or pen. Again, stat priority really just depends on the way you intend to play Seth, but don't stress too much and just work with what you have. Overall, Seth being our first new A-rank character is definitely setting some high expectations for future A-rank characters. Seth being insanely flexible since he can be used in pretty much any role alone just makes him an extremely valuable character. Also, with those core passives allowing him to specialize in supporting anomaly DPS characters along with providing a shield to protect them, does make him somewhat future-proof until a dedicated anomaly support does release later on. Till then, Seth is going to be a solid character for anomaly comps and even outside of them due to his versatility. So Seth is a character that would benefit your account massively, and you should definitely look forward to picking him up either on Jane's banner or later on. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more ZenlessZoneZero content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also drop a comment down below on your thoughts on Seth and what team would you be running him on if you intend to play him. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.